Most people never experience abundance not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they have never learned to give themselves permission to believe first. They wait for the world to validate them. They wait for applause before stepping onto the stage. They wait to feel ready before they move. They wait for guarantees so they never have to risk being wrong. But the universe has always favored the brave, the decisive, the ones who leap before the bridge is visible. Not recklessly, but faithfully. Because a person who waits for absolute certainty has already surrendered their power to circumstance, and circumstance is the slowest designer of destiny. You are not here to live on the timeline of the world. You are here to live on the timeline of your decision. Time moves differently for the committed. Have you noticed that when you finally decide, things start happening quickly? Doors open, plans form, ideas rush in. The universe accelerates around the one who stops hesitating. This is because faith is an active force. It is a signal you broadcast through thought, emotion, and expectation, and the world responds. People sense when you believe in yourself. They sense when you are certain, and certainty is magnetic. It draws allies, resources, and possibilities the same way fear draws self-sabotage. We are always manifesting either through faith or through fear. One expands, the other constricts. One opens the path, the other closes it. Tonight is about choosing which one you operate from. While you sleep, your subconscious is doing something extraordinary. It is rewriting the emotional meaning of possibility. Up until now, big triggered doubt, fear, or overwhelm. But now they will trigger activation. You won't shrink. You will expand. The subconscious will begin to see vision as normal, ambition as safe, success as expected. And once that emotional association changes, everything changes. Imagine waking up tomorrow and, instead of thinking, "Can I do this?" your mind automatically says, "How will I execute this next step?" That single shift in inner language is the line between stagnation and acceleration, between years of waiting and months of becoming, between dreaming and achieving. This is the work happening right now inside you, and it begins with the first pillar, belief. Belief is the foundation. Without belief, goals are wishes. With belief, goals become commands. Belief is the permission slip the subconscious needs to begin restructuring your behavior. When you believe deeply enough, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop talking yourself out of your own greatness. You stop explaining your dreams to people who were never meant to understand them. You stop needing validation to move. The moment belief becomes conviction, your identity shifts. Once you believe, the next pillar forms naturally, clarity. Clarity is not knowing every step. Clarity is knowing the direction. When a ship leaves the harbor, the captain does not know every wave, every gust of wind, every variable ahead, but the destination is fixed. Your destination must become non-negotiable, not a preference, a decision. You say to life, "This is where I am going," and the subconscious begins plotting the course. Ideas come, insights arrive, patterns emerge. Life starts whispering, "Go here, read this, try that, speak to them." But clarity never appears before belief. The fog only lifts for the one who commits. Once clarity sets, another force awakens. Vision. Vision is imagination with intention. It is the ability to see what does not yet exist and make it more real in the mind than the world outside. Most people let their eyes dictate their imagination. The powerful let their imagination dictate their world. Hill understood this. Every leader, every entrepreneur, every creator in history understood this. The world you see around you was born in someone's inner world before it manifested outwardly. Tonight, as you drift deeper into sleep, your inner vision sharpens. You begin to picture your future not as a distant possibility, but as your natural unfolding. You see yourself succeeding, making decisions with confidence, producing results, achieving mastery, and the subconscious treats imagined experience like real experience. Visualization becomes rehearsal. Rehearsal becomes readiness. Readiness becomes reality. Then comes purpose. Purpose is the emotional fuel of persistence. Without purpose, obstacles feel heavy. With purpose, they feel necessary. Without purpose, delays feel discouraging. With purpose, they feel temporary. Purpose is the inner fire that keeps the engine moving when logic would quit. When a person has purpose, they do not try, they move. They do not wait, they advance. They do not dabble, they commit. And the beautiful thing about purpose is that it is born from within. No one assigns it to you. You do not find it outside, you uncover it. It is the spark that has been with you since childhood, the thing that lights your soul, that makes you lose track of time, that calls you forward even when you pretend not to hear it. Purpose is the compass of the subconscious. And once aligned, the subconscious operates like a guided missile, always adjusting, always redirecting you toward the target. Then comes discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in motion. It is the decision to align your behavior with the future you have chosen. Discipline is not about forcing yourself through misery. It is about removing the option to betray your own vision. When a person has faith, discipline becomes easier because they no longer see effort as struggle. They see it as evidence. Every small step confirms the commitment. Every completion reinforces the identity. Every day of execution strengthens the belief, I am becoming who I need to be. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about direction. Even a small imperfect step taken daily builds a mountain over time. The subconscious responds to repetition. And while you sleep, it is learning a new rhythm. I follow through. I finish. I act. I am consistent. Soon you will notice that habits that once required force now feel natural. The mind begins to crave progress. The body begins to feel uneasy when you don't move toward your goals. This is what transformation feels like, momentum becoming identity. And finally, with all these pillars in place, something extraordinary happens. Faith becomes self-reinforcing. You believe, so you act. You act, so you see movement. You see movement, so you believe even more. This cycle is the engine of all great success stories. It is the difference between the average dreamer and the unstoppable achiever. And while others quit after their first setback, the faithful rise higher, because they understand one truth that changes everything. Obstacles don't block the path. They build the path. There comes a moment in every transformation where the world begins to test you, not because the universe is cruel, but because identity must be proven. The person you were will always be more familiar than the person you are becoming, and the subconscious loves familiarity. The old identity will whisper to you with the voice of comfort, stay small, stay safe, stay predictable. And many people obey that voice, not knowing that comfort is the most expensive prison ever built. Costs people their potential. It costs them the life they were designed for. You are not here to remain who you have been. You are here to become who you are capable of being. Growth demands a shedding, the shedding of excuses, of self-doubt, of habits that once served survival but no longer serve elevation. The subconscious mind must be taught that the unknown is not danger, it is destiny. And the fastest way to install that belief is repetition through emotion. You don't change the subconscious with logic. You change it with intensity, either of pain or of vision. Pain says, I will never live like this again. Vision says, I will rise into something greater. The night work of this transformation uses both. This is why Hill insisted that burning desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not mild desire, not casual interest. Burning desire, which is the emotional fire that tells the subconscious, this matters more than the temporary discomfort of change. When the subconscious receives that signal repeatedly, something incredible happens. It begins forming new associations. Fear no longer equals danger, it equals expansion. Effort no longer equals struggle, it equals creation. Risk no longer equals threat, it equals possibility. And when those emotional equations shift, your behavior changes effortlessly. The same actions that once felt intimidating now feel necessary. The same steps that once felt heavy now feel energized. You wake up not battling your mind, but directed by it. This is one of the great secrets of the successful. They do not have more willpower, they have different subconscious programming. Your subconscious is not your enemy, it has always been your bodyguard. It is simply protecting the reality it believes is safest. If it believes survival is the goal, it will keep you from risk. If it believes greatness is the goal, it will push you toward growth. Most people never redefine the goal, so their subconscious keeps them alive but never lets them live. But tonight, in this work, the goal is changing. You are teaching your deeper mind that the safest place for you is not in the walls of the familiar, but on the path of your calling. The subconscious must learn that stagnation is danger, not movement. That unrealized potential is pain, not effort. That a small life is not protection, it is spiritual suffocation. And once the subconscious accepts this, a new kind of energy enters your life, momentum. Momentum is the phenomenon that turns one small action into a cascade of results. It is why success often looks sudden from the outside but is always earned internally first. People will look at you and say, how did everything start changing so quickly? They will assume it was luck or timing or opportunity. They will not see the countless nights you spent rewiring the invisible machinery of your mind. They will not see the battles you won silently, alone, in the dark. They will not understand that you were building momentum long before the world saw movement. Momentum is spiritual compound interest. When you invest in your growth daily, your mind begins paying dividends you never imagined. Ideas multiply, confidence rises, anxiety decreases. Fear instead of a barrier. You act sooner, you hesitate less, you start finishing what you start. Your environment responds. People treat you differently, you carry yourself differently, and soon achievement becomes natural, not shocking. But this is where the world separates. When people begin experiencing momentum, most will self-sabotage. Not because they want to fail, but because success is emotionally unfamiliar. The subconscious will always attempt to return you to what is known. If stress has been normal, peace can feel foreign. If financial struggle has been consistent, abundance can feel uncomfortable. If being overlooked has been your history, recognition can feel overwhelming. People say they want change, but most are not prepared for the emotional newness of success. That is why tonight's work matters so deeply. You are training the subconscious to feel at home in abundance, to feel normal in success, to feel aligned in achievement. The subconscious must learn that growth is not a threat, it is your natural state. Imagine a tree apologizing for growing tall. Imagine a river questioning whether it has the right to carve through the earth. Imagine a flame doubting whether it is worthy of burning. Ridiculous, isn't it? Yet humans are the only creation that asks permission to become what they were born to be. You must stop waiting for the world to crown you. Crown yourself. There is a moment every successful person can point to when they stopped auditioning for their own life and stepped fully into the role of creator. When they stopped asking, "Do I have what it takes?" and started saying, "I will become what is required." It is identity, not ability, that determines destiny. Because ability can be built, skills can be learned, knowledge can be acquired. But identity is the blueprint that decides how far you allow yourself to rise. You will only rise to the level of the identity you hold. If you believe you are average, you will perform average no matter how much talent you have. If you believe you are exceptional, you will stretch, strive, and evolve until exceptional becomes your baseline. The subconscious takes identity very seriously because identity determines survival. If you say, "I'm not good with money," the subconscious will defend that belief. If you say, "I always procrastinate," the subconscious will ensure the statement stays true. This is how powerful identity is. But the mind can be reprogrammed. The subconscious listens. It obeys. It just needs new language. And the most powerful language is not what you say once. It's what you repeat consistently while your emotions are engaged. That is why nighttime reprogramming works. In this relaxed state, the gatekeeper of logic is quiet. The subconscious is open. It is absorbing. It is learning. It is rewiring. This is the same mechanism behind affirmations, prayer, visualization, and emotional autosuggestion. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between a thought imagined vividly and a reality experienced physically. It only knows the pattern you feed it, and the pattern you feed it becomes the pattern you live. Tonight, you are feeding it a new pattern: boldness instead of hesitation, faith instead of fear, movement instead of waiting, expansion instead of shrinking, confidence instead of doubt. The identity you awaken tonight will not look like the person you were this morning. And when you wake, the world will begin responding differently, not because the world changed, but because you did. Soon, people will begin sensing something new in you. They may not know what happened, but they will feel the shift. They will feel the certainty. They will feel the inner alignment. And whether they understand it or not, they will treat you accordingly. Because the world always treats you according to the identity you broadcast. There will come a point in your journey when your former life begins to fall away. Not because anything is wrong, but because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency that once kept you there. Old habits will dissolve. Old fears will lose their grip. Old identities will feel too small to contain who you are becoming. This is not loss, it is evolution. It is the natural shedding required for expansion. Do not mourn the versions of yourself that you outgrow. Honor them. They carried you as far as they could. But you are stepping into a self that requires new emotional coding. You cannot take scarcity with you into a life of abundance. You cannot carry hesitation into a reality built by decisive act. You cannot bring the fear of judgment into a destiny created by bold expression. And you cannot drag a limited sense of self into a future created by unshakable worthiness. Worthiness is the gateway to abundance. People try to rehearse wealth without first believing they deserve it. They try to manifest love without believing they are lovable. They try to chase opportunities while secretly believing someone like them is not meant to have them. The subconscious does not allow you to keep what you don't believe you deserve. This is why some people earn money and lose it, enter relationships and sabotage them, succeed briefly then collapse emotionally. The subconscious is always working to return you to the emotional temperature it knows as home. So tonight, we raise the temperature. Tonight, worthiness becomes your baseline. You will begin to feel deserving of the abundance you once only admired. You will begin to accept compliments without shrinking. You will begin to ask for what you want without apology. You will begin to walk into rooms with the posture of someone who belongs there, and the world will adjust. It always does. There is a silent truth of achievement that few dare admit. The world does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are convinced you should have. Conviction shapes posture. Posture shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results, and results shape destiny. So the deeper work is not in making the world respond differently. The deeper work is in becoming someone the world cannot help but respond to. You know this instinctively. Look at the most successful people in history. Did they wait for permission? Did they wait for perfect timing? Did they wait for unanimous approval? No, they moved first. They believed first. They acted before the evidence appeared. They understood that the world bends to those who declare instead of request. Your subconscious must now learn the same. Tonight, as you drift between consciousness and sleep, your deeper mind is being reconditioned to default to confidence. Not arrogance, clarity. The quiet knowing that you are capable. The steady certainty that you can grow. The inner understanding that you were not made to observe life from a distance, but to participate in its highest potential. This inner shift is the most powerful transformation you will ever experience, because once identity changes, everything else follows. New identity builds new behavior. New behavior builds new results. New results build new belief. And then, belief becomes reality. But let us admit, most people never acknowledge. Transformation requires emotional courage. It requires facing the inner narrative you've lived with for years. It requires taking responsibility for your limitations, not with self-blame but with self-ownership. You cannot heal what you will not face. You cannot rewrite a script you refuse to read. But once you face it, the power returns to you. Because the moment you can say, "This belief was installed, I can uninstall it," you finally become the author instead of the character. There are beliefs inside you that were never yours to begin with. Beliefs inherited from scared parents, overworked teachers, uncertain generations. Beliefs gathered from environments that could not see your potential. Beliefs formed from experiences you were too young to interpret accurately. You believed them because you had no choice at the time. But now you know better. And once you know better, you can think better. And once you think better, you can live better. This is the real meaning of mental transformation. Not positive thinking, but conscious authorship. The understanding that you can choose what thoughts are permitted to stay. You can choose what emotional patterns are allowed to operate. You can choose what identity you are building. Most people live with a mind they never chose. You are choosing yours tonight. And once you choose, the mind becomes the greatest collaborator you could ask for. It begins scanning your environment for opportunities, not threats. It begins noticing ideas that were always around you but invisible before. It begins guiding your attention, your emotion, your action. The subconscious becomes your silent partner in success. Soon, you will wake up with clarity instead of confusion. Ideas will flow. Synchronicities will appear. The right people will begin entering your path. The how will reveal itself piece by piece. And you will realize that the universe was never withholding. It was waiting for alignment. You are entering a stage of life where your inner reality will become stronger than your outer circumstances, where your vision will lead instead of your fears, where you will act even before the world understands, where your subconscious will no longer resist change, it will demand it. You will become one of the few who does not need proof to begin, one of the few who understands the ancient law. Faith creates evidence, not the other way around. As the greatest transformations in history always began invisibly, in a mind that refused to accept limits, in a heart that refused to shrink, in a soul that refused to be small. Even now, something within you is awakening. A deeper voice, older than fear, wiser than doubt, more authentic than insecurity. It is the voice that knows who you truly are. You have not heard it often because the noise of the world has been loud. But tonight, in the silence of this inner work, that voice is rising. Listen closely. You were not born to be small. You were not born to struggle through existence. You were not born to merely survive. You were born to create, to build, to grow, to express, to become. Every dream you have was placed in you for a reason. Desire is not random, it is direction. You do not desire what you are incapable of. The vision calls you because the version of you who can fulfill it exists within. And now that version is stepping forward. A shift has begun. From hesitation to movement, from doubt to certainty, from survival to expansion, from waiting to becoming. The echo of this transformation will follow you into tomorrow and every day after. You are stepping into a new chapter, not with anxiety, but with expectation. The world has changed because you have changed. And now, as you enter the deepest layers of sleep, the subconscious continues the work, reinforcing belief, strengthening identity, sharpening clarity, rooting purpose, and building the inner architecture of abundance. Rest now knowing this, your future is no longer a question. It is a decision, and tonight that decision has been made.